What is the difference between being punk and being a punk?
We are here to talk some punk rock, some music, comics.
Punk culture, DIY shit, anything we want to talk about.
That's what fascinates me. Give me everything. Absolutely everything.
I find that music and comics have always been intertwined.
Muckspout.
Chicks dig it. Don't worry.
Hey.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Muckspout. Sorry, I just got notified that we were not going live on Facebook, so I was trying to figure that out.
All right.
John, you want to get us started while I figure this out?
Yeah, sure. We're here talking to J Prozac this evening, the world-class rock star from Western Massachusetts, and we're very happy to have him on. Hello, Jay.
Hey there. Stoked to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And while he's trying to figure that out, I was trying to figure out when we first met, and I think it was back when I was working for, I think it was the incarnation was my 411 source for Patty Seifert back in the day. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but I remember we did a little interview for the first Stiletto Bomb Drop, and I think I might have done some liner notes with you for one of her yearly compilations that she used to do for a radio show. And it's just been amazing getting to know you over the years. You've just been like just a champion for the local scene and the regional scene around here. And I just appreciate the hell out of everything you do for our scene. So thank you.
Thanks so much, John. I mean, you're doing a lot too, and appreciate that, and that's one of the things when I think we first met in person was when we were shooting that Heartless music video in Northampton.
I don't know if I was there for that one.
I don't know if you were there, or I found out about. I remember that being some point where I found out about you. Maybe I talked to you around that time or something.
It's possible. Well, I know I definitely bought you guys a drink down at the Root Cellar in Greenfield when you guys were playing down here. And we all had a good time and had a few beers and got to see you guys play, and it was a hell of a show. So
I've definitely made a home delivery to your house before.
Yeah, and yeah. Speaking of that, that's one of the topics, obviously, of our show is just we love everybody that's DIY and just totally doing their own thing, and don't have the help of a record label or anything like that. And you are the epitome of DIY. Number one, you support bands across the country. I've seen, your social media takes on the hauls you get from different bands and record labels. And it's just amazing the amount of stuff that comes in. And it's nice to see the packing materials that come in from those products getting reused on the vinyl and stuff that I'm getting in the mail, which is awesome.
Definitely. Yeah. Sometimes you're flipping shit inside out with labels and all that kind of stuff. I think it's fun. I think it's super fun to when I get that kind of stuff. It's
exactly. Yeah. See what kind of mileage we can get out of all this so that everybody's helping everybody. Maybe it's been used 5 times already. That's what I want to see,
Well, the support, kind of look at it, you support, you want to get supported and you support out there, and it's a big circle, and I don't know, that's what keeps us all going around, I guess.
Yep, and that's huge. And I mean, it goes down to the bands that are there throughout an entire 5-6 band set, and they stay through the whole thing just to support and be a friendly face in the audience and just support the scene. And, there's that night and day between the first band that takes off immediately and you don't see them again. And it's just and I know some of it's obviously scheduling things, but it's so nice to see a face that's there to support their, fellow bands and everything. And I know that you're a huge part of that.
It's always fun to see the band sitting out there watching the other bands before theirs. That's.
Yeah. And one of the big things with that is, I've gone over this with a lot of people and people in the bands and stuff too. When you play a show and you're like, oh, we're only playing to the bands. I actually had that scenario happen one time, and we played. There was a festival called Insubordination Fest, And the whole thing was like, it's all just bands here. The club was fucking sold out. There was more than just bands there, but
Yeah.
the bands are fans.
Right.
Exactly.
We're fans, like half the reason you're it's exciting playing these shows is because you're getting to see bands that you want to see, and likewise, and a lot of times they're your friends, and
I know. And that's how you make connections too. And
there's nothing wrong with being playing for the bands.
Absolutely. Because
That's
sometimes you make lifelong friends from that too. So sorry, Eric, I didn't mean to cut you
we
off.
got the same thing with like indie comics and stuff. We're always buying other indie comics, and it's not just like a circle jerk helping your friends out and stuff. It's
Right.
We're out there trying to support and we love working with the indie community. Like it's just
right.
Yeah, like my wife and I used to vend at craft fairs and comic cons and stuff like that. And we'd both take turns walking around. We'd end up, if we made back the money we paid for our table and had $5 left over after buying everybody else's shit from around the room, it's like you truly, love everything that you're in there with. And that's why you're vending at a place like that is,
You succeeded.
Exactly. That's exactly how I look. So yeah.
One of the things a lot of people, people that aren't into this stuff, the music, the indie, the things that you're doing out of passion and love that isn't centered around making money is, oh, you're going to go, why do you go play these shows and you're not getting paid and all this stuff? And it's like, well, I went to the bar last night. I got to do something I loved on stage.
yeah.
Maybe I got a couple drinks, sold a little bit of merch, and you went out there and blew $150 and don't remember what you did.
Right.
Exactly.
But
and you get turned on to a bunch of new bands you might not have heard from some of the opening acts and things like that, and it's just amazing. I went out, like I was telling you, Jay, before the show. I went out last night and saw Linnea's Garden from Boston and a couple other bands, and it was, I'd say most of it I hadn't heard before. And it was by the end of the night, I was walking out there with merch from a couple bands I'd never heard before that evening, and it was great. And I look forward to checking all their stuff out on Bandcamp and just enjoying that, because exactly, I just want all of it. That's from the intro of the show. It's like, that's what I do. I go out there and I try to find new stuff constantly because that's what excites me. It's like Christmas morning every time I go searching for new music. So it's just fun. I'm like a little kid. So.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I get it, and I'm there too, man.
Yep.
What I love, actually, I've seen it from both of you guys, but John will find stuff and he'll forward it over to me all the time. He's like, check out this comic, check out this band. Like, this one just released on Friday. I think you'd like this, and send it over. And I see you constantly sharing stuff on your Facebook too. That's how it works. And
it's cool because all these things, the comic book world and the music world, it crosses over so much. It's kind of like, I'm not a big comic guy, and I never got into comic books, which is weird because I love, I guess, everything about comics. And I know, John, you know for sure with the kind of artwork I go for. I'm always looking for.
Yeah, seeing the art on your albums.
Illustrators. I love all that. I just never got into the actual, collecting comics and whatnot. Yeah. But it's all, there's a piece of that world kind of in all this stuff, and from merchandising, you get all the similar things. Merchandising, setting up booths, going to a show, or going to a Comic-Con, or going, to any of these type of events there.
You got the mainstream and the underground and
the alternative sports and all that stuff. It's like, it's not underground like it was anymore, which is, you can go any way with that stuff. But at the end of the day, I guess it's awesome that everything's out there, and more accessible, and you meet more people. As much as I hate the internet for a lot of things, I've become a huge internet whore over the years, and my wife will attest to that. But and then meeting like John, we haven't hung out per se. We don't live terribly far apart, but I feel like we kindle the friendship pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's like I think it was very clear, like I said early on, that I knew that you were in it for the right reasons, and that you loved what you were doing, and that you really wanted to support everything. And that's kind of the mentality of myself and Eric and Ben, our co-host, is we just want people to be turned on to new stuff and to love the same things that we do. And that's why it was so easy, Jay, to talk to you, like just messaging and things like that, because I knew you were one of the few people in the area that had that same love for the same type of punk bands that I did. And it was just fun. It was like, it's always nice, especially after a certain age where all your friends aren't going to shows anymore and aren't necessarily doing all this stuff. It's nice to have a few people that you can shoot the shit with and know, all right,
Yeah.
you know, this person actually gives a crap about what I'm talking about. So
I know you hit me up with a lot of band. Like, I mean, surprised right now I'm seeing the Venomous Pink shirt. And you know, those are the kind of things they don't always see or talk to people that know of bands. Same thing like you just said, you know, you got a connection, and it's exciting. It's exciting when you get to show somebody else something new and get them into it. But yeah, when you're meeting someone who's already mutually there, and you kind of get to like go off on it, you know, and
exactly,
or share those little things. You're like, oh man, something really cool happened, or I connected with this, or hey, this is coming up. I know you shoot me those messages.
Yeah.
No, but you know, this show's coming up, or have you heard this band, or.
And it's like, most of the time I know it's like, all right, he's either already going, or he's like probably playing a show somewhere, or opening for this band for all I know. So, but it's fun to like, because like I said, there's not that many people that I talk to that have that. Like,
well, eventually you hit this age where people are like, there hasn't been a good band in 30 years. And like every generation has that, the people that say that, but it's never true. Like there's new good bands and there's new good music all the time.
Yeah, you just got to look for it. And that's why, like, I've been doing the weekly new music thing for our for Muckspout, and I'm finding like fucking 30, 40 new releases between singles and stuff every week. And it's like, come on, guys. If you can't find anything in this batch of shit, come on. Okay, I shouldn't say shit because it was all good, but
we know what you mean.
And there's been stuff that's been like Ben suggested the sprints early on. And like that's some of my favorite stuff now. I fucking love listening to that. Like I'll put it on my way to work like all the time. Like or Buster Shuffle is one I got into in the last like year or so, and like they're just
cool.
A lot of fun, and I'll just throw that on the way to work, and it's something that, you know, wasn't there 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Like
you guys have like you and Ben and Jay, you've all turned me on to so much new stuff, and I appreciate that, every bit of it.
I appreciate your mega support and your friendship.
Thank you. I suppose we shouldn't make this just a patting each other on the back episode, but yes,
we're all great though.
I gotta go this side. Here we go.
So I was not super familiar with the Prozacs, but John was all about that. So I started checking it out, and I've got to say, if there's one song that I could pick to be my spirit animal, it's This, That, You, and Everything. Like
the song that won't die.
As soon as I heard that, I was like, I bet people fucking love that at shows.
Yeah, you know, we have a show next weekend, and I took it off the set because we're playing a shorter set, and I'm like, yeah, it's usually always on the set. It's always on deck.
What song is that? What song is that next weekend? Is it the Gangrene show or?
The Gangrene show, yeah.
Yeah.
Eric,
were you a Gangrene fan, Eric?
I'm not familiar.
Okay. I'm a little older, so maybe like it was definitely more 80s punk, but yeah.
I don't know Gangrene like thoroughly through.
Yeah, I'm not a huge but it's definitely was one of those things that, you know, I had somebody made a copy of the tape back in the day, probably with 3 other bands on it. So that was I think this will be the 3rd band off of this. This is Boston, not LA comp that we're playing with. That's awesome. That was one of my wife's favorites. Like I think they did a vinyl re-release a year or 2 ago, and
I think I have a Newberry Comics like re-release or something.
Yeah, she was so excited. She was like, "That was one of my fucking favorite things." So yeah, we were excited to get that. So
yeah, so Yeah, so yeah, that's coming up. But yeah, this, that, you, and everything, man.
That one resonated.
The kids like it when you say fuck.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
Exactly.
I have a page in my comic that reads a lot like that song did.
I think every song I have that has the word fuck in it is in our set for this Gangrene show.
So does that mean you have the what is it, those pants would look better on your sister, the I hate your fucking emo band song?
So I had that one on, and we just played that out for the first time in a long time. I actually had that on there, and I scooped it out when I had to trying to streamline the set. But I do have Out of My Face, which was one of the newer ones.
Oh, cool.
I don't say fuck a lot, really. It's just when I do it in a song, I say it a real lot in that song.
Hey, it works. The Tourette songs are always the best.
Sometimes you need to say it, right?
Exactly. It's like, and it goes with the temperance of the song sometimes. Maybe it's like exactly what you need at that moment. And some of those are the most fun, cathartic songs to listen to when you're putting a playlist together, that sometimes you need the little bit of extra fuck in the system. So
I've had to change the lyrics before for songs, and say screw this, screw that, screw everything.
Yeah.
We had a show in particular many years ago, and we couldn't swear. So I changed the lyrics on This, That, You, and Everything. But the mistake I made is I announced this as the motherfucking Prozacs.
that was my one. It's okay. When you see the Queers over 100 times, you can't help saying motherfucker, Yep. So what was this show? Was it like Jimmy's bar mitzvah or something, or what?
So we played at a high school. One of my bandmates' old high school. He just graduated like a year or two earlier. He wasn't happy with me. We're a fucking punk rock band, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my songs are pretty wussy overall, so I need to. I gotta throw the middle finger up every once in a while and try to be a punk.
And then I said, "Whoopsie."
Oh man,
that's great.
So, how long have you guys been doing the podcast here?
When did we start? It was
last August, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say August sounded right. So,
yeah.
Awesome.
What episode is this? Do we even keep track anymore?
I do when I posted it the next day. I want to say this is 19, maybe.
Okay.
So
awesome.
Yeah, we were like, he was announcing it at the beginning of it, the number of it every time, and now I'm like, I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
So
it's no, it's been fun. I just I don't even know. Like me and John were talking about doing something else at one point, and then one day I just started talking to him and Ben, and we just were like, yeah, let's just jump on and start doing this. And then we started out with a couple of us, or just a few of us, chatting about things, and then we started inviting people on, and it was just been a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Was the question?
No.
I was going to ask, was the question from you because you were like, these guys are the fucking most unprofessional people I've ever met in my life. This must be episode 2 or some shit.
Well, no. Here's the thing. Like, I've been on a lot of podcasts, and I'm usually on the early seasons because I'm like that D-lister.
Oh.
Like we can get this guy to start out.
Nah, buddy.
So I get a lot of those. I'm in the first like 10 episodes somewhere. By like 50 or 60, it's like they hit me up if they need some information on something, or hey, you know this guy, right? You got his number?
Not at all.
30 more episodes, we'll start hitting you up for that. But right now,
all right, I'll do what I can.
Yeah, when we have the giant rock and roll panel or something, like we'll have you be one of our expert witnesses for something. I don't know what, but
no, we've had like some comics guys on, some zine guys on,
right?
Kind of run a gamut. So
yeah, we seem to start out with a lot of comic guys, and then we seem to
then we went hard into music.
Yeah, so we're kind of trying to do back and forth between the two. But
take it as it comes.
Still finding our groove. Like, we wanted to be able to play music and stuff, but they'll sue your ass if you start doing that. So
nobody's willing to put their house on the line.
Yeah, it's tricky out there. It's funny when I put my own music online and then I see it get flagged for copywriting, like putting a music video up on YouTube. But at least my shit's getting tagged for copyright.
Right. You got some protection there at least.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
little creepy. Yeah, it's like there's things like Mixcloud that will allow you one service where you can play some stuff, but then it gets to that point of like, all right, but then it only gets out to a few people. How do you do this? So
Right.
it's like I don't know. I don't know how like Patty used to do it with her internet radio show. I think she had an actual radio station that was behind her back
Right.
ago. So yeah, it's tough getting like all of the stuff that are your dream gigs that you'd love to do, but yeah, you don't want to get your ass sued right out the door.
Right.
So
Yeah,
we
I
had
think, like,
when we had Josh from Smoking Popes on, we had him do some acoustic tunes that are only on YouTube, but we couldn't put them out on like the podcast networks just because
okay.
you just never know. We don't need Capitol Records coming after us or anything, but
Right.
so it's kind of a bummer. But
It was
That's
funny because
tricky. I
Go
mean,
ahead.
things are definitely way harder than they were, and tracked better. And I say harder from that perspective. You know, I know a couple of podcasters that go through Spotify, and I believe they can only use like 30 seconds of clips that are on Spotify unless
Yeah.
you're paying for
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah. Because we had discussed that too. And that's what I was seeing was if you had a premium account, you'd get the whole song. But if you were just listening for free, it was 30 seconds. And I'm like, that's not really what I want to do. I want to, if
we're
I
not trying
want
to
to do
drive.
it.
If we're going to drive business to anybody, it's not going to be Spotify.
Right.
And I want, if I'm promoting new bands, I want people to hear it. And I want people to get an idea of what they actually sound like. So who knows what 30 seconds, because I think it's, the 30 seconds is usually driven by their algorithm of what the best part of the song is. So it's like, who knows if that's really what you want the fuckers to hear. So
Right. No vocals, a musical section.
exactly.
Right.
Who knows? So
Right.
but all right, we're kind of going into a weird aesthetic.
So you guys, you've been doing this for quite a while. And from what I understand, the Prozacs first release was 20 years ago. Is that
2000? Yeah, 2003 was our first album. We started recording in the end of 2002.
Yeah.
And that was when you could record a record and finish it and get it pressed all within a matter of months, not years.
Yeah.
Right.
What, you don't have enough to get your own vinyl press at this point? Come on. I see you doing work on the house all the time. Just make like a vinyl section.
Yeah, right. I wish, man. You want to come work on the house with me? You need a side gig?
Well, I was going to say, if you want it really, really done wrong, then I'm your guy. Because I always hire people to do that because I know I have not a lick of fucking any good sense as far as construction or carpentry or any of that stuff. So other people do that for me because I cannot.
I grew up with it. Both my brothers and my dad was a carpenter, house builder by trade. I didn't take the route. I did go into engineering. I did mechanical engineering in college and high school, but after that, I let punk rock and BMX ruin everything.
How long did you do the BMX thing?
From 87 until about 2003.
Oh, okay.
2004 is when I really kind of wound down, and I got on my bike. Well, I haven't the last couple of years. I'm just having physical body issues. But yeah, so 87 to like 2003, I was very active.
Oh, cool.
That's a good.
I raced BMX, and then I got into the freestyle side of it, the dirt street ramp, and I grew up with the explosion of it. So probably like 93 or so is when I started getting into that side, which was like the punk side, the skate, all the punk music was the soundtrack to everything back then.
Oh god,
for the alternative stuff. It wasn't called the sport yet.
Because getting X Games was starting up though, right? About then?
Yeah. I think X Games took over Matt Hoffman's BS contest series maybe 95 or so, which is right when the Warped Tour started as well. So, and all that shit was all combined. And so, yeah, I got to grow
That's
up in a
great.
pretty, we grew up in a pretty rad age, like seeing all that shit happen and being into it. So, yeah, I was into it like I am with music. I had as much passion and, drove in the bigger circuit as much as I could. So.
And you were at least good enough to have the Suck write that song about you, J Prozac on a BMX bike there, which was what, 20 something years later, but still.
I know, that's hilarious. Good song.
Yeah, I really dig it.
Yeah, I was surprised. I got hit up by one of those guys asking me about, Johnny Alien. Hey, what would you think if we did a song that had your likeness in it? Would you be cool with that? Yeah, sure. You can have my hateness, whatever you want. But no, that was an honor. That was an honor. That was cool.
No, I thought that was pretty cool, actually. Yeah. And it was an interesting way of weaving you into the song. Like, yeah, she's watching J Prozac on the BMX bike. Yeah, I like that.
Creepy too.
All of us older guys are at the creepy stage now. It's okay.
Oh yeah.
And so during that period with the BMX stuff, what was the deal with the loose clothing? Were you like a sexy model for them? Or are you a spokesperson? What was your connection with?
Yeah, loose clothing was my deal. I started that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. That was towards the end of '96. I started Loose. There was a lot of DIY, like in music. We had the bike companies back then were DIY. Yeah. After going from the 80s, the late 80s, there were major sponsors in in the BMX world. You had, it was cheesy, but you had like Kudos and Squirt Soda and but people were making money.
Yeah.
And they were on TV commercials, all that shit. But then it kind of died. And then things in the 90s, you had Haro and GT and the big bike companies. But when all those big sponsorships died, the underground started to grow. So you had like S&M bikes, Standard bikes, FBM, all these bike companies started by the riders, and they were making their own shit. And so that's where I really got my DIY ethic, like learning that. And so by '96 I started my loose clothing thing, and really the reason why I started it was I wanted a Screeching Weasel shirt.
That's awesome.
And I was just like, you know what? Like, why? It was like $20 or something at like Hot Topic. They had the Hot Topic shirts, and I was just like, fuck this, I'm gonna make my own. So I ripped off a Screeching Weasel Boogada Boogada album and did a loose clothing BMX rules.
That's awesome.
And ran off some shirts. So I had other friends that were that had companies as well. We call them companies or whatever.
Right.
But that's kind of where it started. I ran off a couple shirts, and then pretty much from '96 to the mid 2000s, I really pushed the punk rock BMX thing. I had a couple friends often that were involved at one point. My friend Matt, in the beginning, we made like a couple of music videos and that stuff. And then I had another friend named Matt who helped getting involved with like manufacturing parts. So we did a run of sprockets under the Loose name and pegs, grind pegs. Yeah. And I still get asked about it. And I ran some shirts off during COVID, but it's been like 15 years since I ran anything. But yeah, to answer your question, the loose clothing was my thing. And I endorsed a few riders and some riders that became big names. I didn't really do a lot. I couldn't do a lot. I was just flowing shirts and sweatshirts and doing the hats and jackets and all that crap. But I had with the band, I had a real loyal following. So I had a handful of shops, mostly on the East Coast, New England, a couple out Midwest, that religiously bought my stuff. And so I could make a run, I could print off, a couple hundred shirts just to spread out to the shops, and it kept it going. I'd go on road trips and just like selling band merch. I'd show up in some town, going to a skate park, meeting people.
Yeah.
And hey, you guys want to buy some shirts for the shop?
Yeah.
Cool. Now I got money to get to eat and go to the next place.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that seems like that's kind of what everybody's going through right now with like I see more and more bands that are just like, listen, if you want us to make it to the next gig in your town, please buy our merch because we're not going to have gas money to get there. And it's just, post COVID was just a shit show anyway, but with the amount of venues closing down and with the amount of bands that just kind of gave up on everything, it's nice to see people still out there pushing it and trying to get through all that stuff, because like that's the people I want to see. Like my wife and I kind of went backwards in the, like, most people as they get older want a stadium where they can sit their ass down and watch the band because they're old, like me. But it's like, I personally would rather have gone to a club and supported somebody that, if I give them $20 for a shirt, they're going to make it to their next gig. And that makes me happy just to know that, somebody's, like, number one, they're probably 10 times more active on stage because they want it. They have that like love for what they're doing. And it just makes me so happy to see that kind of band. So
yeah, depending at the level, it's not a job, you're trying to do it as much as you can between everything else in life. So it's all kinds of sacrifices. You're not going to a van or a bus or whatever. And
yep, exactly.
believe me, as a band, it's appreciated so much.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like coming back after COVID, at least my experiences have been a little better than pre-COVID. Like maybe, on that end and selling merch and, getting some pay from, from whoever's booking these shows and whatnot.
I know personally during COVID, I started buying more vinyl because I wanted to help support musicians that weren't, out able to actually play. And then coming back, I did tend to spend a little bit more at the merch tables, I think.
Yeah.
And like I said, being home and seeing the social media from people and seeing how many people were struggling, just not even in music, but everywhere. It's like, I think it made people a lot more tuned to the fact that, yeah, we could help each other out a little more. And it's like, I think that probably added to that and helped a lot of people see, all right, some folks could use some money.
The music world, and I'm sure the comic world and everything else, it didn't go away. It was just, there was a new way to connect. I think a lot of people were home.
Yes.
So much more. So they were actually buying more new music and buying more comics and buying these things that they had time to spend time with that they didn't have.
Exactly. And I think that's what got most of us through it was entertainment. It's like, if we hadn't had that, we would have been nuts or more nuts.
The first weekend, we had 2 shows booked, the weekend the world shut down. I literally didn't find out on, was it like May 13th or March 13th, I think. Was the day it shut down. We had a show local and we had a New York show the next night. And I was working on my house all day.
Oh,
it was like 5 o'clock at night. I was mudding and taping, and I'm like, I got like 40 messages on my phone. It was like band members, other bands on the show, because I had booked it, and like everyone's like, what's going on? And like shows got canceled like that. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize what was happening. And but that weekend I already saw bands live streaming from like their practice spaces and shit. So because people had shows booked, maybe people paid money in advance and stuff. So it was like, and I saw some bands pulling in cash. People were paying to see their live streams and everything. And there's that DIY attitude.
Yeah. And I saw a ton of that and it was interesting seeing people connect over something like this, where it was 3 people in 3 separate locations playing music together. I'm like, how many times did you have to practice that shit with the lags and everything to actually sound like a song, And it was interesting seeing how quickly some of that technology adapted to be able to do that, because I think people were going nuts, especially people that normally are in the same room and able to play that suddenly couldn't. And
it was nice too, because there was bands that I hadn't seen like in a while, like I hadn't thought about in a while, like Goldfinger was doing a lot of stuff.
He was they were nonstop, dude.
The Ataris, what's his name from the Ataris was like on like every friggin' day, like playing.
Oh, Chris Rowe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had there was Eddie Spaghetti from the Super Suckers was doing once a month he was doing a rent party because he needed to make rent. So like it was cool though because he would actually like sit down and tell you the story behind a lot of the songs and shit that I had completely misinterpreted over the years where you're like, shit, I had no idea. So it was interesting, and they put out the tip jar, virtual tip jar. And it was kind of cool. Yeah, it was.
I even watched Paul Stanley a bunch of times. He had him going.
Interesting. Now, did he do like? Cool did he do more rock and stuff, or did he do? Because I know he was doing kind of soul stuff for a while.
No, he was doing like Kiss songs and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Solo, just acoustic in his house.
Yep.
But there were a lot of huge artists that were doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, like Billy Joe for Green Day was recording covers and everything, and he wound up.
About that vinyl
record with the covers.
Yeah, he was like playing with his sons and stuff. Like that was cool.
Yeah, and I wish we did the live thing, but we never kind of talked about it, but it just never panned. We did shoot a couple of music videos, like cell phone music videos, and our guitarist Jed edited them together, and so I'd never done anything like that, like DIY in that sense. But that was the opportunity. We get something out there.
Yep.
Yeah, there was so much going on at that time.
But the technology has come a long way. So if you wanted to try it now, you've probably got more technology than you could like throw a stick at this point to do it. So
yeah, I'm stuttering. I'm not even stuttering, John. But like shooting the music videos, for one, what you can get on a cell phone camera, it's crazy. You get good clean footage. You give all that footage to somebody who knows how to edit it and effects and everything else, and I spent a lot of time recording at home, way more than I ever have, and I have a very minimal setup. But I'm able, I learned a lot there, how I could manage some stuff at home, intertwine it with my studio recordings, and so now the last couple of records I've done, and one I'm currently working on, and I'm doing a lot of recording from home. Send it to the studio. Yeah, I know my limits and boundaries. I'm not an engineer. I don't want to be an engineer.
Yeah.
But so that's something that was a skill I gained during COVID, and it's been very helpful, and I've done a couple of recordings that I've released that I've recorded everything on, which I would have never done in the past. But again, technology,
it's come a long way. Now, what are you working on right now? Is it a J Prozac or is it a Prozacs album?
So I'm doing a new J Prozac album.
Okay.
I went in the studio a couple months ago with I got a friend in Connecticut who was playing drums. I started jamming with last year, and with no concise plan other than I just wanted to keep active. I'm always writing songs.
Yep.
So I wound up pulling in the bass player from the Prozacs, Greg, who's the current bass player. Hasn't been on a Prozacs recording yet, but he's going to be on the new solo record. And this guy, Vic Rosario, he plays in a ska reggae band called the Pilfers.
Okay.
And so he's playing guitars. And these guys we're doing the next J Prozac record.
Cool. Now, when you record the different things, I think you've said this in the past, but I'll ask the question again. How do you kind of quarantine things into? Quarantine was probably a bad word, but into like Prozac's album versus your own like solo stuff versus like when you were doing Stiletto Bomb and things like that?
Honestly, for me internally, it's a big messy world.
Okay.
I guess maybe when I sometimes I go to start making songs, like say Stiletto Bomb was actually a lot of songs that were written for the Prozacs before Stiletto Bomb formed. So a lot of those songs for me mentally were Prozac songs. That's what I wanted to represent next. But the Stiletto Bomb thing happened. I kind of weaned it into the edgier material and made a conscious decision, at least from my side, to not bring in like the typical pop punk songs.
Gotcha.
But although I did the edgy type material with as the Prozacs, but I just kind of concentrated at my side of the writing. But then you bring in my wife's vocals,
Yep.
Scotty and Jeff Blood, who were the guitarist and bassist. Their influence, everything just kind of shaped it to be its own thing.
Yeah, it was a great sound.
Yeah, I really love that. And like the solo stuff, again, it's been a lot of conscious decision of pulling a certain particular style, which is the more pop style. Lyrically, I've been a little more of the personal stuff. And again, I've done that through the Prozacs, and it's all part of what I do, but I guess it's more of like concentrating and focusing on a certain aspect of it.
Yep.
And then once you get into that, maybe you start writing a couple more songs because that's your frame of mind. And then the end product is just kind of how it's glossed over at the end. Like maybe I'm doing more clean guitars and acoustic guitars, or, you're bringing in different players that you haven't played with. So it's, that's kind of how it's been, but it's confusing for me. I'm pulling and pulling. To be honest with you, to be fully honest, I feel like everything I do outside of the Prozacs is taken away from the Prozacs.
Okay.
But because it could have been there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just wasn't sure if it was one of those, like, there's a certain tone that you go for specifically with the Prozacs versus your, like, stuff that goes under your personal moniker kind of thing. So I was just curious. But it's also nice, like, for you already went over it, that your wife Andy was part of Stiletto Bomb, and she's obviously, definitely been a part of all the Prozac stuff in the background stuff too. If you had to guess, how many songs has she contributed to over the years? She's been on a ton of your stuff.
She's been on all. I mean, when we met, when her and I got together initially, the Prozacs had just had my second release coming out with the Prozacs. So since then, I mean, she's been on all the major albums. She's probably been on 15, 20 tracks, I would think.
Yep.
Between the Prozacs and with Stiletto Bomb, which when Stiletto Bomb ended, she was writing. Like I said, a lot of the material was like Prozacs. It was stuff I was writing before it that formed. But yeah, that was a chance for her to kind of have more ownership. Where she was writing lyrics.
And she was awesome. She had great stage presence too. So
I love playing with her. Yeah, I hope we get, at some point we get to do it again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Life is definitely a little hectic, but I know what it's like when you have a whole family that you're trying to work, like for me, comic stuff around, for you, all the music stuff. It's crazy. So
yeah, everyone has a different level of,
sorry guys.
That's okay. I think about this stuff every day. It's on my mind. It's a part of everything. It's invasive on everyone's life around me. It's not always for the best either. It's not, all the push and all the things I do, as much as I get a lot of praise from it. There's a lot of I don't make the best decisions all the time, and in full honesty, doing this shit is selfish. There's a lot of selfishness in it, and I'm aware of that, and I know that.
Like, and I've thought that about my life, and I've seen you say that in the past before on social media and stuff. But at the same time, it's like, being a creative person, I think if anybody like is also a creative person, they understand that if you don't get this stuff out of your head and into the world, you're just going to go nuts, because it wants to find an outlet. And if you don't have that, you're going to be even nuttier and crankier at home. So it's hard because
I couldn't not do the stuff that I do. Like I'm compelled to, like, always.
Yeah.
I've tried to put it aside. I've tried to put it aside at times.
Yeah.
I've had periods of like months where I'm like, the Prozacs broke up a couple times. It never broke up. Like the band stopped, but I never stopped. So I don't ever consider it. It was never truly broke up. And but yeah, that's the thing. You're whatever is internal, you need to get it out there. And like that's one of the things you're like, when my time comes, you're always on the clock of like, I need to get all this out before that happens. At least have it prepared, like, so, you know, maybe someone can take it and have enough to finish it up. I don't know.
Exactly. You don't want to be on your deathbed going like, hey, I got this one last verse. So
yeah. But that's what it is. You know, and the BMX is the same way. Like, as much as I haven't ridden, I literally think about riding my bike every day. Every day of my life, today, every day. And it's been 2 decades since I was like doing contests and like fully immersed in that life. And it's just always there because it's a part of what I am. You know, I'm ever since the mid 90s, I've never looked at a handrail, ledge, bank, cop car and seen.
Yeah. Yeah,
there really is no end either. Like, there was a point where I had done a couple of my blister comics, and I was like, I want to get this story done. So I buckled down, made my 211-page book, and I was done with it. And then like a month later, I was like, I have new stories. Crap. These characters go to college. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to hit you up after this and start my comic collection.
There you go. I think we can work that out.
Yeah, some stuff, you know, we'll throw some support. You know, that's how, again, that's how, like I said, I've never been a big comic person in the sense of buying comics and everything else. But, you know, it's like with bands too. A lot of times maybe you don't listen to certain genre of music so much, but when you meet somebody and you become friends with somebody, and now it's more special too, because you're supporting, you know, you're supporting somebody. I shouldn't say I don't have anything. I have some DIY comics from over the years from people in bands and whatnot that, you know, because that stuff definitely shows up. You know, there's a lot of amazing artists and illustrators and creative minds of all sorts of things and wrapped up in all this stuff. So,
yeah. And there's like so many comics now that's part of what we started talking about when we first got together for this show was things that are the intersection of comics and music. And it was, you know, Eric's comic is what got us together originally, talking about stuff and then music. And then we started talking about, like, our last episode were some guys with a comic called Geezer, and it's about like these mid-90s Britpop band, fake band that's kind of loosely based on this other guy's band Cud that were out in the mid-90s. And it just shows such love for the music scene at that time. And he goes into a record shop and there's like, you can like almost smell the wood bins of fucking vinyl and everything. You can, like, if you blow up the page on the digital, you can see the weird band stickers and all the fucking posters on the wall. It's such a love letter to music that that's the kind of stuff that we want to get out there. Is like, there's such an intersection between the two worlds that, like, yeah, if you can find it, it's amazing. Yeah. To share.
I know we've talked off and on. I know you hit me up with, you know, maybe some kind of project here or there that could intertwine the music and thing. And I hope we can spin on that sometime. I know you I remember you sent me some comic pages that had band stickers and stuff.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause, the one that I've got the tattoo up my arm, that's a story I keep meaning to tell, but life keeps getting in the way. But absolutely, if I get to a point where it is going to be a reality, I would love to have, like, you, and there's a female lead singer too, so possibly Andy, like, throw a little bit down for me. It would be wonderful to have you guys. Yeah, I'll
do that in a heartbeat, man. I'll write you a whole soundtrack to it.
Well, fucking A.
For real. I'm not even lying. Like, I'm not just saying that would be super fun.
Yeah, and I think it's like I said, I just need to get my ass in gear and, you know, get out of my own way. But, you know, don't we all?
I'm waiting over here. I'm waiting.
All right.
That's what's fun, interesting with music, you know, too, is you know, getting things out there. And every once in a while, I'll take a departure. And I had one album that I wrote based on a TV show. I'd never done anything like that before, and it was it was a whole new experience, writing from a whole different, for me, for a different frame of mind, a different reference point. You know, you can only write about the same things so many times, the same type of emotions.
Which album was this? I can't remember.
It's called Exist.
And what show was that?
It was written about a show called Fringe.
It was. Okay. I was like, I thought that's what it was, but I couldn't remember. I love that show. Absolutely
So
love that
yeah,
show.
you know that I never really got into, like, I never followed TV series.
Yeah.
Like, I watched TV and everything else, but I never followed TV series. And I watched that show Fringe, and I fell in love with it. So I bought all the, I think, I can't remember if it was fully out or maybe I was around for like the last season coming or something. But yeah, I fell in love with that show, and that's when I started watching TV series. And I started writing songs in 2012. I wrote a couple songs based on that. And that was when I was writing my first solo record. I had two guys drumming with me off and on, and I went to the side with one of the drummers. And it was basically like the Prozacs too. But so I started writing a couple songs, and I'm like, you know what? I want to do more of this. And it took like maybe like 3 years. 2012, that album got recorded in 2015.
Yeah.
But I wrote 16 songs, and some of them made it into Stiletto Bomb.
Oh, okay.
Some of them made the bulk of it made it onto Exist. So if you went to the Stiletto Bomb material, the second EP, there's a song called Tech in My Head.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And Crashing Worlds. So you're familiar with Fringe.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. Yeah.
So Tech in My Head comes from the last season.
Yep.
Where Peter gets the observers and realizes they have electronics in their head.
Yeah.
That are guiding them or whatever. And he ripped it out of one of them.
Right, yeah.
That's the Tech in My Head was Peter. I can see what you see, baby.
Yep.
That
awesome.
line, I can, he's from their perspective. And then the song Crashing Worlds was the last song on that EP, the Stiletto Bomb. And that was the two universes coming together.
Yep.
The two worlds when they were,
merging,
crashing each other.
Yep.
Then the song A Little Something with the Prozacs, that EP had A Little Something was about the first episode of the pilot episode.
Yep.
And it's dealing with Olive going into her boyfriend's head when he died, dunked her in a tank, and she went into his thoughts.
God, I forgot about a lot of this stuff. That's awesome.
He was cheating on her and all this stuff, and then all the bad shit. So that's what A Little Something was about. And yeah, I can go on and on. Probably the most blatant song is the opening track, Cortaxiphan Trials.
Yep.
On Exist, which was about the drug Cortaxiphan, which the whole show is based on. So,
and I remember looking that up back in the day because I couldn't remember if it was from Fringe or there was also some kind of weird trials with some drug that sounded like that in Nightmare on Elm Street back in the day. So I was like, was it Fringe or was it? Yeah. So
yeah. So ironically enough, I have a list of 12 or 14 song titles, all based on Fringe. I went and watched the series again, and I was plucking from different episodes.
Yep.
And so I have all these song titles that are much more blatant that I was like, maybe someday I'll write another album. But it was cool because it was writing a lot of them. You put your emotional stuff into things, even when it's about something else.
Yeah.
Fictional,
Yeah.
But it's just cool because you're character driven. I'm not used to writing character driven material, and that's what that was.
It's fun though. It's a different outlet. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So.
And that's what I think I like about playing with, like, helping other people with their stories about things is you're like getting into their world a little bit and what stories they're telling and getting to play in their playground for a little bit. And it's fun. It's like, yeah.
So a collab like with you with a comic, if you want to do like a soundtrack, and seriously, that would be super fun. I would, and to do something with Andrea, like her, if you had a female lead vocal, that would be super fucking fun. I know she would love that. And work on, and it would tie your artwork into whatever.
Yep. Oh, I would be totally down. Like I said, I just got to get off my freaking ass.
Yeah.
Hey,
you work now, John.
If you put your mind to it and you're ready to do it, let me know. Like that's something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. As soon as I'm ready to green light it, I'll give you the thumbs up. So
yeah, man.
That's awesome. No, that stuff's a lot of fun. I like to do that with my stuff too. Like I put together a EP when I put out my Blister comic, and it was just so much fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
yeah, again, it all ties in.
Yeah, I love it when, yeah, like I've even seen some of the big companies do it, like DC when they relaunched Black Canary, they made her character a punk singer for some reason, and so they did 2 EPs on Bandcamp that were just like 3 songs each, and there were like half of it was covers, but it was fun. It was very interactive. Like you could kind of like, some of it was the stuff that she was singing on stage in the comic. So it was cool. It was nice seeing that come to life, kind of.
I was loving Image Comics. The Furthest Place from Here comic was coming with a 7-inch until immediately the vinyl shortage happened.
Yeah.
Or the backup happened. I don't know if that was the Adele or what it was at the time, but and then they
tied up everything. She mucked everything up.
That was like they've only put out 3 of them so far in the last year and a half. They had to lag behind with their deluxe editions.
I was going to say, I always had the deluxe edition with the vinyl on my pull list at the comic shop, but I don't think I ever got even one of them. I think mine were
really?
Just they were
hard.
Normal.
Yeah, they were hard to get. I've been lucky to get the 3 so far, but
I'm hoping that maybe someday they'll do a digital collection when the whole series is done. So, because I haven't heard one damn song yet. Nice to be able to hear something.
I had to jump on it when Blake from Jawbreaker was on the first one.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
That's my shit. So I had to jump on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But no, that's the great intersection between comics and music that we love, though.
Right.
Sure.
Go back, listen to the Ramones, right?
Yeah.
The comic book.
I could hear some Ramones in your solo stuff. There was what was the well, like on Regret.
Okay.
Like, when I was listening to Regret, I was like, this feels Ramones.
Oh yeah, and it's that song would probably, it's kind of Pleasant Dreams is like my favorite Ramones album. So, and that song definitely listening to it and thinking of that, it's got that little bit of a jaggedy oldies feel to it.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was a great song. I actually jammed on it 2 nights ago with a buddy of mine on drums.
Oh yeah, I was digging that. You made a couple posts before about like purchasing that one on vinyl. I gotta snag that one for you sometime, for sure.
Oh, the album.
Yeah, you still got some?
Won't Let Go. Yeah. Well, if you got some of your comics, dude, we can make some trades.
Yeah, we could do that.
You're down with that?
Yep, absolutely.
I got the Doubtfire album on vinyl too.
Nice.
Did you listen to Doubtfire, Eric?
No, I don't think I have.
That one has, like, speaking of the comics intersection, it's got a very comic feel to it. Jay's a superhero, and so is Mr. McCracken in that one. So it's just a freaking
with a kiss twist.
Yeah, it's just fantastic though. The whole, like, that's definitely I'm partial to that album quite a bit. I love that one.
Yeah. It's been years since we recorded that in 2013.
Yep.
And
wow,
I haven't got to play that material live, and I'm like this close to finally getting the J Prozac world to the stage. So I've been working on that, and I'm finally finding a way to get there. So definitely going to play some Doubtfire material.
Yep. Well, you just need to get the McCrackens for a tour, and
yeah. Dude, those eggs are cracked. They stay in Canada. They only go to Europe every once in a while.
Well, they got a new album coming out, right? So they should be doing a full tour of the U.S. and everything.
Yeah. It'd be nice, but the McCrackens don't tour. Damn you guys.
Right.
I love them so much. I love them a ton.
Me too. And I think you might have been what got me into them more, like, over the years. I definitely heard a little bit, but then you were recommending them back in the day, and I just kind of sucked up everything they had at the time, and I just fell in love with them. So
they get a lot of crap in the punk rock scene because of the people pass them over just because of their
the shtick,
the shtick and everything, but they're fucking amazing songwriters.
Oh my God, it's just
they're all putting out stuff, solo stuff.
Yeah, between Spot and everybody else and Bill, and it's all like Bill and Phil, and it's just hooks for days. It's just crazy.
It was a highlight in my music career, if you want to call it that. Was doing that album, Bill and I. That's when I started doing home recording. I bought a little 8-track recorder. 2013 is when we started doing that, and it sprouted because we were on the same record label at the time, and then we wound up doing a split 7-inch McCracken's and the Prozacs. And then Bill and I started talking about maybe doing a song together, collaborating on something, and we did a couple covers of a band called the Vindictives as like a test run, and then we were like, let's write a couple songs, and it turned into a whole album. So I bought this recorder, and the way we did that record was Bill wrote half the songs, and I wrote half the songs musically, and we traded. And then so everything he sings, I wrote the music for. Everything I sing, he wrote the music for. But we wrote our own vocal melodies and lyrics for each other. So it was a full collab. And then I went to Vancouver for a week, and got holed up in the studio with one of my favorite songwriters. And I got to hang out with all the guys, and we made the record. So yeah, I'm very proud of that one, and I'm definitely very hold it dear to my heart.
Yeah, I love that one. It was one of my faves.
And Ole O'Brien knocked it out of the park. My illustrator, another person who became a super close friend out in Germany.
Yep.
He did the Exist album art, and he's done a bunch of art, but he did that art, and he did a lot for the McCrackens too. So
yep.
Hey, Ole O'Brien.
Yeah, I actually just I saw that you had gotten the second volume of the Pencil Rider book from him, and I was like, shit, I forgot about that. So I just messaged him, and he's sending out a copy of it like this week. So awesome. I was stoked. I thought I missed the boat on it, so it was nice to see you.
So you've connected with him in the past?
Yeah. I think I think around the first volume of Pencil Rider, I added him as a friend on Facebook and messaged him about stuff.
Sweetheart. He's
he seems like a super nice guy.
We went to Germany in 2019 and got to play 3 shows. We played one with his band in Netherlands, and my wife went out. Andrea went out, so she was playing with us all the shows.
Yep.
Cool. But yeah, meeting Ole was a very emotional experience. So it was cool because we had a very tight bond before.
And for those of you that don't know, his band is the Evil O'Briens, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Okay.
Yeah. I actually wrote him a song for his wedding when he was getting married too.
Oh, that's cool.
A surprise wedding gift.
Nice.
So yeah, I collaborated with one of his band, but the singer was on the song, and I did that with the Bloods, with Jeff and Scotty.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I did no drums, and it was a song was called Hey Hey Ole, and it was just an ode to him and his friendship and his contributions to through his art to the world of music.
He's definitely one of those people that I recognize immediately now with his work, and he's just so phenomenal for all of his album art and everything, and T-shirt art and everything I've seen him do. So, Eric, if you haven't checked him out, I'll shoot you a link at some point. He's awesome. So,
that's awesome.
All right, we are hitting the end of our time, but I want to make sure anything you want to pimp out for shows that you got coming up, we make sure we promo. What if you want to throw any dates out of stuff you got coming up?
So we got next week on the 23rd of April, we're playing in Holyoke, Mass at Gateway City Arts with Gangrene and Color Killer and the Agonizers and a couple other great bands. Wishful Thinking, old school hardcore.
Oh my God, yeah.
Mass. And the following weekend, Friday, we're at the Nook in Westfield, Mass. And I've got a touring band called the Downstrokes from Maryland coming up.
Cool.
And the Agonizers and a couple other great bands on there. A couple out of towners. I got Chicago. We're going to be out in Chicago area coming up in July.
Oh, cool.
So everyone's looking, wants to get out. We haven't gotten out to these areas.
And I don't know if you knew that, but that's where Eric is. So.
Yeah, that's where
you're in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm south of Chicago. Yeah.
All right, cool.
That's
well,
awesome.
Then maybe we'll get to hang out.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, that's going to be the July, I think the 9th, 8th, 6th.
That
7th,
weekend
8th,
is hot as balls, but it's kind of hot as balls everywhere, so that's cool.
Yeah. It's going to be cool wherever we are.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, we'll have to connect on that. So yeah, we got a few things coming up. We're heading down to like Delaware and Maryland in September.
Cool. And we'll have Eric's very good about making sure we got links to all your social media. So we'll make sure we link to that so people can go and check out and make sure they see all your tour dates there. So
we'll have to get you back on when you put out your new J Prozac album.
Yeah. There's no set plan. That's kind of cool because usually I'm working on shit forever, and this album's kind of under the radar right now.
Yep.
Which feels very cool and comfortable.
Yeah.
So I don't have any stress with it. I'm just kind of making the record. My last one, Won't Let Go, is still kind of fresh for me. But yeah, that'd be rad.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you on anytime.
At some point.
As long as you don't get off of here tonight and go, oh my God, those guys have no idea what the hell they're doing. So
you're good.
You never will.
You have the same thoughts I have every time I do one of these things. If Andrea is watching us right now, I'm probably going to do the walk of shame when I go upstairs.
Hi, Andrea.
But no, this is a lot of fun, man. I'm glad you guys had me on. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to get you on. That was a lot of fun.
Super stoked.
Oh, cool. Thanks for watching, everybody, and or listening, because it'll go out on the networks tomorrow. And thank you, Jay. This was great.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Well, thank you guys both very much.
John,
see you soon.
fun.
Yep. Nice to see you.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, John, we'll have to hook up sometime for
exactly. Yep. I'm starting to make it out to shows again. So slowly but surely.
Cool. All right. Well, you guys have an awesome night.
All right. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Hey, you made it through an entire episode. Good for you. If you're looking for more, give the rest of the channel a look. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We'll catch you fuckers next time. Later.
Muckspout.